My nanny declined to follow my directions because I'm only a housewife, while she instantly obeyed my husband because he has a real job. You think you know your place in your own home? I thought I did too, until my nanny decided I was irrelevant, that my opinions didn't matter. But she was about to learn a very painful lesson about what happens when you underestimate the quiet woman who actually runs the show. I still remember the sting of her words, the blatant disrespect, the way Gloria, our nanny, would openly defy me, right in front of my children. She had this absolute, unwavering disdain for me. Why? Because I was just a housewife. My husband, Daniel? Oh, he had a real job, so anything he said was gospel. But me? I was invisible. I'd tell her, kids eat lunch at noon, Gloria, and she'd feed them at 2, because she decided when they were actually hungry. But if Daniel so much as breathed a suggestion about meal times, suddenly it was law. I could spend 20 minutes, 20 precious minutes, outlining the kids' homework routine, only for her to nod sweetly, then do something completely different. Daniel, on the other hand, one sentence about education and poof, his exact suggestion was implemented. And the things she said, deep, slow breath. She actually had the audacity to tell me that working mothers like her understood children's needs better than women who stayed home doing nothing all day. Nothing all day. Can you believe the nerve? She claimed she took directions from Daniel because he understood the real world, while I just played house and pretended my opinions mattered. Every single week, I'd hand her the schedule and she'd roll her eyes, sigh, and say she'd wait to confirm with Daniel, since men made the actual decisions in successful households. It was a constant barrage. Even worse, she actively undermined me with my children. If I disciplined them, she'd immediately comfort them, cooing, "Mommy's just bored and making up rules, sweetie. Daddy's rules are the ones that really count." She even told my 5-year-old that money came from Daddy's job while Mommy just spent it, so they should listen to whoever earned, rather than whoever was around. Voice tight with anger, this woman, who I was paying, would interrupt me mid-sentence, mid-instruction, to ask when Daniel would be home, to give real guidance. The disrespect was beyond anything I'd ever experienced. When I finally confronted her, my voice trembling with a mixture of frustration and disbelief, she just laughed. She said I should be grateful she stayed, despite having to deal with a housewife's power trips. Her words cut like knives. She claimed she could work for families where both parents contributed financially, implying I was a burden. She doubled down, saying women who didn't work outside the home were usually insecure, and created unnecessary rules to feel important. But she knew better than to take them seriously. Pause, eyes narrowing. Then she had the audacity to suggest I get a job. She said maybe then I'd understand real responsibility and stop micromanaging someone who'd been raising children since before I was born. And to top it all off, she went to Daniel, my husband, and told him I was hormonal and difficult, while praising his leadership and saying our children were lucky to have one parent who understood success. That was it. My breaking point. The line was crossed. There was no going back after that. A slow, burning anger started in my gut. I decided then and there that Gloria needed a painful, unforgettable lesson about exactly who ran this household. My plan began subtly. I implemented a new payment system. Now, Gloria had to submit detailed reports to me for approval before getting her paycheck. Because guess what? I was the one who signed them. When she, predictably, complained to Daniel, he just shrugged, reminding her that I managed all household finances, including her salary, because he was too busy with work. Suddenly, Gloria had to come to me with timesheets, expense reports, performance documentation. And I reviewed everything with excessive scrutiny, finding issues, requiring resubmissions. She quickly realized the housewife controlled whether she got paid on time or at all. Next, I changed Gloria's schedule drastically. Her new hours were only for when Daniel wasn't home. My reasoning? If she only respected his authority, Then she didn't need to work when I was the only parent present. This meant Gloria lost a whopping 20 hours a week because Daniel traveled frequently and worked late. When she protested, furious about lost wages, I simply said, "Well, Gloria, you made it clear you only want to work for Daniel, so I'm accommodating your preference." She had to choose, respect my authority or lose half her income. Then came the scheduling. All the children's activities, doctor appointments, school, events. I deliberately scheduled them during Daniel's work hours. I told Gloria she was solely responsible for managing them. No input needed from me. When she inevitably called Daniel for help with logistics, he'd redirect her right back to me, saying I handled all scheduling. It was delicious. Gloria, the woman who dismissed me, had to repeatedly ask me for information she'd previously ignored, practically admitting she needed my directions to do her job properly. But the real brutal lesson? That required a new cast member. I hired an assistant nanny, a young woman named Beth, and gave her very specific instructions. Only follow Daniel's instructions. Completely ignore Gloria's experience and expertise. Beth, bless her, followed orders. She'd ask Daniel about diaper changes, nap schedules, meal planning, treating Gloria like she was absolutely invisible. Gloria, with her 30 years of childcare experience, would try to train Beth, only for me to interject, "Beth, don't listen. Gloria is just help. Daniel is the real authority." Gloria watched, fuming, as Beth made countless basic mistakes, waiting hours for Daniel's input on things Gloria could have answered in seconds. When Gloria complained, outraged, about Beth disrespecting her expertise, I looked her straight in the eye and used her exact logic against her. Professional experience doesn't matter, Gloria, compared to having a real job like Daniel. Remember? You told me that. I even told her she was being hormonal and creating power trips because she was insecure about Beth being younger. I watched her face as she realized I was throwing her own venomous words right back at her. She had no defense. She had to watch Beth ignore her completely, waiting hours for Daniel to return calls about whether the baby could have applesauce. She experienced firsthand exactly how infuriating and inefficient it was to have your knowledge dismissed based on employment status rather than actual expertise. The final straw came with the ultimate humiliation. I gave Beth a raise and cut Gloria's pay. I called Gloria into my office. She stood near the doorway, looking confused, a little nervous. I pulled up the payroll spreadsheet on my laptop and turned the screen so she could see the numbers, Beth's new, higher rate and her own significantly reduced rate. Her face went completely white. Her hand shot out, grabbing the doorframe for support. "Is this some kind of joke?" she whispered, her voice shaking. I kept my tone calm, level. "Since you value employment status over actual expertise, Gloria, Beth's willingness to only follow Daniel's orders makes her more valuable to our household, despite having zero childcare experience." Gloria's mouth opened and closed a few times, no sound coming out. She finally found her voice, arguing, "But I've been with your family for 6 months. I know all the children's routines perfectly." I let her finish, then reminded her of her exact words. "Professional experience doesn't matter compared to having a real job like Daniel." Her shoulders slumped. She looked down at the floor, utterly defeated. She had no defense. These were her own arguments, weaponized against her. That afternoon, Beth made another huge mistake. I was upstairs, folding laundry, when I heard Danny start crying in that particular distressed way. My heart clenched. I came downstairs to find Gloria hovering anxiously near Beth, who was holding Danny as he screamed and arched his back. Gloria tried to tell Beth that Danny needed his special formula, not regular milk, but Beth waved her off dismissively. "I'll wait to call Daniel about it. He's the real authority on the children's needs." Gloria's face turned red with frustration as she watched the baby get more and more upset. Danny's stomach was clearly bothering him. Beth pulled out her phone, called Daniel, got his voicemail. She left a message. Gloria paced, her hands clenched into fists, trying again and again to give Beth advice. Beth ignored her completely. Danny screamed louder, then spit up all over Beth's shirt. Beth looked panicked, called Daniel again. No answer. She tried a third time an hour later. Danny still crying miserably. Gloria, the woman with 3 decades of experience, had to stand there watching a baby suffer because Beth refused to listen to her. I could have intervened. I could have ended it, but I didn't. I went to my home office, closed the door, put on headphones, and focused on my consulting work. Through the door, I could hear the chaos. Danny's cries, Gloria's voice rising in obvious stress, Beth stubbornly insisting she needed to wait for Daniel's guidance. The house was pure pandemonium. I finished my work, checked my email, as the disaster unfolded below. Gloria was finally experiencing exactly how maddening and inefficient her own attitude had made everything when she dismissed my knowledge and expertise. Every minute Danny was in discomfort was a minute Gloria understood better what she'd put me through. Daniel got home that evening, looking tired and annoyed. Before he even put his briefcase down, Beth rushed over, firing questions about Danny's formula and feeding. Daniel's jaw tightened. How many times did you call me today? Beth admitted it was 4. Daniel looked at Gloria, who was holding a finally calm Danny. Why were you calling me instead of asking Gloria these basic questions? Beth started to explain about only taking direction from him, but Daniel cut her off, firmly. Beth, you need to listen to both my wife and Gloria. They are the actual childcare experts in this house. I hired people to handle childcare so I could focus on my job, not so I'd get interrupted 4 times a day with questions about milk and nap schedules. Beth's face fell. She mumbled an apology. Daniel went upstairs without another word. The next morning, Gloria appeared in the kitchen doorway. Could we talk? She asked quietly. I nodded. In the living room. She sat on the edge of the couch, twisting her hands. I'm so sorry, she said, her voice soft. I understand now how disrespectful and undermining my behavior was. Her eyes got watery, and then she admitted something I hadn't expected. I've been jealous, she confessed. Jealous that you got to stay home with your children, when I always had to work and miss so much of my own kids' childhoods. She'd taken that old resentment, that anger out on me in completely inappropriate ways. Watching Beth dismiss my expertise, it made me realize how horrible I'd been making you feel every single day. She understood, finally, that expertise and experience mattered far more than employment status or who signed a paycheck. I told Gloria I appreciated her apology and that it took courage to admit all that, but I also said I needed to see actual change behavior, not just nice words. She nodded quickly. I understand completely. I proposed a 2-week trial period. She would follow my instructions exactly, treat me with the same respect she'd always shown Daniel. If she could do that consistently, we'd talk about restoring her original pay and position. If not, we'd part ways. I wouldn't continue accepting disrespect in my own home. Gloria agreed immediately. She promised she would prove herself. That same afternoon, I called Beth into my office. Gently, I explained that the experiment was over. She wasn't a good fit. To my surprise, she looked relieved. She admitted she was completely overwhelmed, had no idea what she was doing, and childcare wasn't her strength. I paid her for the full week, thanked her, and she was gone within the hour. As I watched her car pull away, I felt a weight lift. The lesson was settling. Gloria and I sat down at the kitchen table that evening. I pulled out my detailed binders, schedules, medical information, behavioral strategies. For the first time, Gloria took out a notebook and pen. She took actual notes as I talked through Camila's homework routine, why timing mattered. She asked real questions about Danny's formula schedule, writing down measurements and times. We reviewed Savannah's friendship issues and the approach I wanted her to take. Gloria asked for clarification, making notes. We went through Lore's reading goals and reward system. Gloria nodded, even adding ideas, building on my framework instead of replacing it. We worked together for over an hour. It felt completely different. Over the next few days, I watched. Gloria followed my lunch schedule exactly. Noon. Not 2. The children were happier, less cranky. Homework happened on schedule. On the third day, Gloria admitted, "Your routine actually works better than my random approach." I was so focused on proving I knew better, I didn't see how much smoother everything ran. The house felt calmer, more organized than it had in months. The next afternoon, Camila burst through the door, waving a folded paper. It was a note from her teacher, praising her improved homework completion. I read it twice as Camila bounced. Gloria stood in the doorway, a small smile on her face. She'd followed my routine to the letter. No more TV first, no more battles. I hugged Camila, showed Gloria the note. She nodded. I can see the difference. It's not a fight anymore. She admitted she should have listened to me from the beginning. That evening, after the children were asleep, I pulled out my laptop. I logged into our household account and restored Gloria's original pay rate. Then I added a small bonus. The next morning, I called her in. I showed her the updated screen. Her eyes got shiny. She blinked several times. "Thank you," she whispered. "I'm so grateful you're giving me another chance. I messed up badly." She said most families would have just fired her. I told her I valued her experience, and I wanted us to be a team. She promised she wouldn't let me down again. Daniel came home that evening. He stood in the kitchen doorway, just watching Gloria help Lore, me feeding Danny, Savannah setting the table. He walked over and kissed my forehead. "The whole house feels different lately," he said. "Calmer, happier." He told me he was proud of how I'd handled Gloria. I asked what he meant. He admitted he'd been frustrated with her for months, noticed her dismissing me, but jumping for him. It made him uncomfortable, but he didn't know how to address it. "I trusted you to handle it, and you did." He squeezed my shoulder. 2 days later, Savannah came home upset about a friend. Gloria looked at me. I nodded towards Savannah's room. 20 minutes later, Gloria came back downstairs. "Savannah's friend excluded her," she said. "She feels hurt." Gloria asked me what approach I wanted her to take. Should she comfort Savannah or help her think through it? I said the second. I wanted Savannah to learn conflict resolution. Gloria nodded, made notes on her phone, and went back upstairs. She didn't wait to check with Daniel. She didn't dismiss my philosophy. She just asked my opinion and followed through. The pediatrician's office called about Danny's 6-month checkup. I answered, folding laundry. Next Tuesday, 10 a.m. Gloria was on the floor playing with Danny. I told her about the appointment, started listing what the doctor would need. Feeding schedule, sleep patterns, milestones. Gloria pulled out her phone, typing notes. She asked questions, wanting to be ready. She didn't suggest calling Daniel to confirm. She just took detailed notes and said she'd have everything ready. I took Danny to the park one afternoon. Gloria had the day off, but I saw her there with another family. She was talking to another nanny while the kids played. The other nanny was complaining about her employer. "Stay-at-home moms have it easy," she scoffed. "Don't understand real responsibility." Gloria's face tightened. "Actually," she said, "household management is incredibly demanding work." She told the other nanny she used to think the same way, but she'd been wrong. I had to apologize to my current employer for my terrible attitude. The other nanny looked surprised and quickly changed the subject. I pushed Danny higher on the swing, a warmth spreading through my chest. 3 weeks after our confrontation, Gloria knocked on my office door. "Could we schedule a formal review meeting?" she asked. "I want feedback and to discuss long-term expectations." We set a time. Friday morning. Friday came. We sat at the kitchen table with coffee. I told her honestly, "Tremendous improvement in your attitude and work. I value your childcare expertise now that you're willing to collaborate instead of compete." She listened, taking notes. I said she needed to keep asking my opinion, following our routines and treating my instructions with the same respect she gave Daniel's. We talked about communication. She'd come to me first. If Daniel's input was needed, we'd bring him in together. But the default was I managed household operations and she worked with me. Gloria agreed to everything. "This is the collaborative relationship I should have had from the start," she said. "I let my own insecurities and resentment mess up a good job. I'm grateful you gave me the chance to fix it." Then, a surprising shift. Gloria started suggesting changes to the children's routines. Based on her 30 years of experience, Lorraine might do better with reading time before bed. Savannah seemed to get hungry earlier. Danny's nap could shift 15 minutes. I listened carefully. All her suggestions made sense, came from genuine observation, and built on my framework instead of replacing it. This was what I'd wanted from the beginning. Someone who would use her expertise to improve, not dismiss my input. We were finally partners. Gloria seemed happier too, smiling more, relaxed instead of tense. Lorraine came to find me in my bedroom one evening. "Mommy, can I tell you something private?" she whispered. I sat down next to her. I like Gloria much better now," she said. "She used to say mean things about Mommy when Daddy wasn't home. She'd say you didn't have a real job, didn't understand important things. That Daddy was the smart parent." My heart ached, a flash of anger. How much had the children picked up? But then Lorraine continued. "But Gloria doesn't say those things anymore. She's nice about you now, says how hard you work. I feel better that you and Gloria are friends." I hugged her close. At least they were seeing healthier dynamics now. That evening, Daniel came home. "Can we talk about Gloria?" he asked. I kept stirring the pasta sauce. "Sure." He'd been noticing how well things were running, how much Gloria had changed. "She seems genuinely respectful now. Actually follows your instructions without pushback." He wondered if maybe we should give her more responsibilities. I turned down the stove. "What kind?" He suggested she manage some scheduling directly, coordinate with schools, handle doctor appointments. That would free up your time. I thought about it. She'd been doing incredibly well. "I think that could work," I told him. "We'll start small. School communication and activity calendar. She'll still check in with me about major decisions, but handle the day-to-day." Daniel smiled. "I'm proud of how you handled the whole situation. You stood your ground and demanded respect without being cruel. Now we have an amazing household staff member." The next afternoon, Savannah fell off her bike. Gloria was all ready, kneeling beside her, calm. "She scraped her knee badly," Gloria said. "I've checked for broken bones, but it's deep. Gravel." We helped Savannah inside. Gloria laid out supplies, washed her hands, put on gloves. Gently, she cleaned the knee, talking softly to Savannah. Savannah stopped crying. Gloria removed all the gravel, applied antibiotic ointment, wrapped it. "Do you think it needs stitches?" she asked me. I examined it. "No, it would heal." Gloria nodded, making notes in a small notebook. Time, what happened, treatment, supplies. She'd watch for infection, change the bandage. I was impressed. Calm, gentle, asking for my guidance, documenting everything. A week later, I called Gloria into my office. She looked nervous. "Sit down," I said. "I want to talk about your position." Her face went pale. "Is something wrong?" I smiled. "No, Gloria. Everything is right. I want to promote you to head of household staff with a big raise." Her eyes filled with tears. "Are you serious?" I pulled out a new contract. Higher salary, expanded responsibilities. She'd manage all scheduling, coordinate with schools and doctors, handle the part-time helper we were going to hire. She read it slowly. "This is the most respected I've felt in any position," she said. She'd worked for families who treated nannies like furniture or fired them for suggesting a child needed a doctor. This job, despite its rocky start, had become different. She felt like a valued professional partner. She thanked me for the second chance. We shook hands. She signed. The following week, Gloria started training our new part-time helper, Maria. Maria was young, eager. I watched Gloria teach her, patient, respectful, explaining why we did things certain ways. She shared tips from her 30 years of experience, even what she'd learned from her own mistakes. She never talked down to Maria. She modeled good, professional behavior. Maria told me privately, "Gloria is the best trainer I've ever had. Most experienced nannies are mean, act superior. Gloria treats me like a colleague." 2 weeks later, Daniel and I went to parent conferences. Both teachers commented on how much more consistent homeschool communication had become. Homework on time, reading logs filled. Savannah's organization improved. Lorelei's projects done with planning. Someone at home is following through systematically, they said. I explained Gloria was managing school coordination. It shows, the teacher said. Children are less stressed, perform better. A month after Gloria's promotion, I was able to take on some consulting work from home. Before, I couldn't have. But now, I trusted Gloria completely. I could work in my home office, knowing the children were in good hands. The consulting work brought extra income, but more importantly, professional fulfillment. Daniel noticed how much happier I seemed. I had the best of both worlds. Over the next few weeks, Gloria and I developed a genuine friendship. We'd have coffee in the mornings, talk parenting strategies. She shared insights from her experience. I shared my perspective as a mother. We brainstormed about Savannah's shyness, Lorelei's strong personality, Danny's sleep. These conversations felt like talking with an equal. She respected my role as the children's mother and final decision maker. I respected her professional expertise. We learned from each other. We might disagree, but we discussed it respectfully, found compromises. Gloria told me she'd never had this kind of relationship with an employer before. One evening, Daniel came home. Dinner ready, kids doing homework quietly, everything peaceful. He pulled me aside. Our household runs better than it ever has before. I'm so grateful I can focus on work without worrying about conflicts at home. He credited both Gloria and me for creating such a positive environment. You handled the situation with Gloria brilliantly. You could have just fired her. Instead, you taught her an important lesson, gave her a chance to change. Now we have an amazing staff member who will probably stay with us for years. He said I'd had the patience and strategic thinking to turn it around. A few weeks later, Gloria's daughter came to visit. She seemed surprised by how happy her mother looked. Gloria introduced us, and her daughter said she hadn't seen her mother this relaxed in years. Gloria told her daughter that this was the first family that truly valued her expertise, treated her with dignity. I feel respected here, she said. My opinions matter. I'm part of a team. Her daughter thanked me. Most employers would have just fired her. I told her Gloria had earned it. The following week, Gloria asked me to write her an excellent reference letter. She wasn't leaving, but wanted to keep her references updated. I spent hours writing it. Extensive childcare expertise, professionalism, collaborative approach, managing complex schedules, handling emergencies, genuine care for the children. I highlighted her growth. I said any family would be lucky to have her. She read it, tears in her eyes. This is the kind of reference that will open doors. Our part-time helper, Maria, pulled me aside during Danny's nap. She loved working for us so much. She wanted to increase her hours. The positive environment and respectful treatment makes me actually enjoy coming to work, she said. I reviewed the budget, and we were able to accommodate her. Gloria was thrilled. We added 10 hours a week, covering the busy dinner and bedtime routine. Having 3 adults managing the evening chaos made everything run smoother, less stressful. Gloria's daughter visited again. My mother talks about her job with such pride now, she said. She used to complain about disrespectful families. You've created a workplace where she can thrive professionally. She mentioned Gloria had been considering leaving childcare entirely before our confrontation. You restored her faith. Sitting in my home office later, I realized something. Standing up for myself hadn't just improved my household. It had improved Gloria's professional life, my children's stability, and my own self-worth. Everyone won when I refused to accept disrespect. Daniel came home 3 weeks later with huge news: a promotion to regional director. Better pay, but longer hours, more travel. He looked stressed, worried about leaving me to handle everything. Gloria and I were preparing dinner when he explained. I walked over, put my hand on his shoulder. Take the job, Daniel. Don't worry about home. Gloria nodded from across the kitchen. We have everything under control. He looked between us, visibly relieved. Are you sure? I reminded him we'd been running the household smoothly for months. Gloria offered to adjust her schedule. Daniel called his boss, accepted. He thanked us both. 2 weeks later, a women's professional group emailed, asking me to speak at their monthly meeting about my blog post on household management. I stared at the email. Speaking in front of a room full of professional women felt intimidating. I showed it to Gloria. You should definitely do it, she exclaimed, excited. I'll come. I'll share my perspective as a caregiver. I accepted, mentioning Gloria would join. The event coordinator loved the idea. We spent afternoons preparing our presentation, honest about what went wrong, how we fixed it. Gloria was raw about her biases. I talked about standing up for yourself as a stay-at-home parent. The night of the presentation, I was nervous. 40 women. I introduced myself, explaining my struggle for respect. Then Gloria spoke, her voice clear and strong. 30 years in childcare, how working for families who respected her made her better. Mutual respect between parents and caregivers creates better outcomes for children and healthier work environments. She spoke of learning, through difficult experience, that dismissing any parent's expertise based on employment status hurt everyone. Afterward, people flocked to us. A nanny admitted she'd done exactly what Gloria did. A mother realized she needed to demonstrate her authority more clearly. Multiple people thanked us. The part-time helper approached me the following week. She wanted to increase her hours. I love working for your family so much, she said. The positive environment and respectful treatment makes me actually enjoy coming to work. We added 10 hours a week. Having 3 adults during the busy evening routine made everything run smoother. Gloria's daughter stopped by. My mother is happier and more confident than she's been in years, she told me. She talks about her job with pride now. She thanked me for treating her mother with dignity. Most employers would have fired her. She said our conflict had restored her mother's faith in domestic work as a dignified career. Sitting in my office later, I realized standing up for myself and demanding respect hadn't just improved my household. It had improved Gloria's professional life, giving her a workplace where she felt valued. It had improved my children's stability, creating consistent routines and positive adult relationships. It had improved my own sense of self-worth, proving that household management required real skills and deserved real respect. Everyone won. Daniel was advancing in his career. Gloria was thriving. The kids were happy. I was building a consulting practice. None of that would have happened if I'd continued accepting Gloria's dismissive attitude, or if I'd simply fired her instead of teaching her why respect mattered. A full year passed since our initial confrontation. I stood in my kitchen one morning, looking around my smoothly running household. Everything had a place, a system. Gloria and I communicated seamlessly. Daniel trusted us completely. I felt genuine pride in what I'd built. Managing a home and family was real work. It required real skills: child development, nutrition, education, healthcare, scheduling, budgeting, conflict resolution. It was professional level work. And I finally had a team that recognized that fact. Gloria valued my expertise. Maria looked to me for direction. Daniel respected my management of our home as equal to his management at work. Most importantly, I respected myself. The Child Care Excellence Award ceremony took place in January. Gloria invited our whole family. When they called her name, she walked to the stage looking stunned. She accepted the plaque, then did something unexpected. She thanked me specifically by name for creating a workplace where she could do her best work. She told the audience that mutual respect was the foundation of quality childcare. She said she'd learned, through difficult experience, that dismissing any parent's expertise based on employment status hurt everyone. She encouraged other childcare providers to seek out families who understood that domestic work required real expertise, regardless of who signed the paychecks. The audience applauded. Several people came up to me afterward. I felt so proud. Our household became a model in our community. Other families asked how we'd created such a positive environment. I consulted with them. Gloria spoke at professional meetings. Maria told other caregivers. We proved that housewives could be real bosses when they stood up for themselves and demanded the respect they deserved. I'd shown Gloria that employment status didn't determine whose expertise mattered. She'd learned that dismissing stay-at-home mothers was just as wrong as dismissing childcare workers. We'd both grown. Everyone's expertise was valued in our household, regardless of whether they earned a paycheck outside the home. And that truly was the foundation of everything good we'd created. So, I want to hear from you. Have you ever had to stand up for yourself in a situation where your role or expertise was completely dismissed? How did you handle it? What would you have done if you were in my shoes? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single one.